Holla Ballers, and I saw some of you say you really missed the Holla Ballers, and I think this is fair. So there's no big reveal in here. We've done most of our stuff for the day for what Blizzard gave us on this private realm. It was really cool to get invited to this and to see a real leap forward.
I want to say that too. Like, yeah, I might complain about the game and get pissed off about it all the time, but they know that and they still invite me on, and I try to get my feedback as fair as possible, right? And I think this is like one thing you guys need to understand is that I want the game to be as good as possible. Like, I want the game to be good. And like the changes and like the things that I'm suggesting and things that I'm worried about and concerned about are things that I think will be harmful to the game. The reason why I think that they're harmful is I've played the game for 15 years. I've seen every change that Blizzard has made in this game. I've seen the positives, I've seen the negatives, I've seen where it's come out to, I've seen what the outcome has been. And I don't know, man. I'm worried. I'll say that.
So let's talk about the actual Covenant system. Let's talk about Soulbinds first of all. They're much better now. They're much better for most of the player base. Like, I really think like 99% of the player base is really not going to be too arsed about this system. There's still some issues with it, but compared to what it was, just the fact that they've seen how broken some of this stuff is, and we saw in the interview they're looking at the Covenant abilities that were a real mess. Blessed and the Paladins they talked about specifically with their Night Fae abilities just so bad. And if you watched our Covenant Wars video, we said that just needs to go. It's terrible. It's really bad for the game. Just get rid of it. And they've done that. Again, with the Soulbinds, there are some abilities in there that were just so stupid that it was one of the reasons that we were thinking it's not just the high end that kind of wants 4 characters here. This is going to affect everybody. Like, this screws the whole game up. And it was a message we were really trying to get out in the past week was...
That's what I keep saying the same fucking thing. Everybody keeps assuming that this shit's only going to affect the top 1%. That's what it always is. They think that they're going to keep affecting the top 1%. It won't. It will affect the entire player base.
This isn't the big bad mythic raiders coming to take away people's fun. It's quite the opposite. It's like, this is game ruining stuff. And it wasn't being dramatic. I mean, this is what's been created and put into the game, right? Somebody wrote this spell out and was like, that's okay. Let's put that in. And immediately, like, not even a pause, we look at it and we go, ugh, no, don't do that. And it's one of those things that makes people go, do you guys play this game? It was that outlandish. So it's really nice.
I don't think the devs play the game the same way the player base does. There's no way they can make the decisions that they do and to think that the same things they think. Like, there's no fucking way. Like, I genuinely think that they're completely out of touch with the player base. I think they have no idea what they're doing. I think that they are genuinely incompetent in most ways. Ian raids. Ian's raided in the same guild for 15 years. Of course he doesn't feel like they need master loot because everybody trusts each other because they fucking grew up together playing the game. That's not the normal experience for an average player. So obviously the way that he's experiencing the game is going to be different than the way most other people do. That's what I'm trying to say. Is that it's not that they don't play the game. I think they play the game. Many of them play the game, but the way they play the game is so disconnected from the way an average player plays the game that they're unable to understand the negative consequences of decisions that they make and the disconnect that they're creating between the player base and the developers. That's what the issue is. I don't think that they don't play. They play, but they're not playing it in the same way.
To see that they've pulled back on that a little bit in order to try and get some semblance of balance. And looking at the Soulbinds and how they work, I truly do think that for literally everybody, it's going to be fine. For not everybody, literally everybody, what a stupid thing to say. For a lot of people, it's going to be totally fine. You'll equip your Soulbinds as you want to. Some people will just get the first Soulbind and leave it as that. And they'll be okay. They'll be totally okay. Like, they're closer in power strength and mechanical strength that it's really going to be only a problem at the very high end. So that was nice to see. It was depressing to see the discussion on the Conduits. So the way we were working, we only got access for one account for our team.
That's what we were just looking at.
So the way we were covering it and managing to get so many videos done was we were watching a shared screen of me via Discord in order to talk about and discuss things amongst the team of people who are making the content for you guys as to how we feel about this stuff, any changes. And we were so dreading, like a week or so ago, we were dreading the conduit system. We were like, if they destroy these when they swap, this is a huge problem, because there's always going to be, like, we want to respec. I know some people never respec.
True.
I can respect that. You just play the game, you do what you want to do. And for some of us, respecking is a big part of how we play.
Yeah, of course.
I respec for trash, you know, and I don't want to, like, regen for trash.
Okay, that's too much, dude. Like, that's way too much. Like, there are sometimes I don't even respect for the whole raid.
That's crazy. So we were very afraid after the Legion relic situation, where some people did want to swap relics, was that we would have to refarm them. And we were talking about like, demon hunters who needed their best relic came from, I think it was Upper Karazhan at its highest level, and they just had to hope that not only did someone get an Upper Karazhan key at a highest level, complete the Upper Karazhan, and it be in the loot chest in order to get their relics. And I remember running so many Upper Karazhan
it's not going to happen.
Demon hunters to get those relics. And the last thing that we want to do is that you then consume them and have to redo that multiple times. Certainly if you're using 3 of them, and then you're having to destroy them because the nature of the content we do calls for that. And I know a lot of people don't understand that. I'm fully aware that so many people don't understand why anyone would have that mentality. Like, why would you do that if you have to refarm these things? Sometimes the nature of the content we're doing calls for that. It like demands it of you in order to be able to overcome that obstacle. And
well, yeah, it gives you a boost. Like, nobody wants to play knowing that they're handicapped. I think that's really what it is. They don't understand that the player base will force you to play a best in slot Covenant because it's the best option. Like being a Fire Mage right now, if you play Frost, you get no people around you or more people don't invite you. Yep. True. They don't get it. They just don't fucking get it.
The idea of having to farm, I mean, I don't know. I've done like 6 runs for 1 relic in the past. So it was sad to see that. I hope they revert it. I've already seen a lot of the high-end players like already losing their minds, basically based off what I just discussed. You like, this is not cool. Can we please have some way of farming them, or perhaps we can reforge?
Yeah.
If we get another high-level relic from a different dungeon, that we can reforge that into the one we want if we've already got it, like a duplication system or something like that. Lots of ideas flying around of just trying to eliminate this as a problem. But it is a problem that's going to affect very, very few people. I imagine.
I think that conduit switching, all Blizzard needs to do is make conduits 100% drop chance from certain things in a game. So, like, if the Recklessness conduit always dropped from, let's say, Odin and Halls of Valor, and then the Last Stand conduit always dropped from Helya in Maw of Souls, all you'd have to do is go do that dungeon again, and then you get the item. That's it. It'd be great. I'd love that. That'd be fine. Ignoring, but acceptable? Yeah, I think that'd be fine.
Most people are just going to say which is the best all-rounder, which is generally the best one, and I'll get that, and I'll work towards that. But once they're in, I'm certainly not going to farm them again. It also is definitely a potential issue. I mean, I'm talking about just conduits here, but a potential issue for people who play multi-specs, and that's depending on if those Soulbinds, one of them turns out to be the best. But from what I'm seeing, I don't think that's a problem. I really don't. For again, the huge, overwhelming amount of people, I don't think that's a problem. I think most people will be fine if they do want to respec is having, if they do tank some dungeons and they're not doing it at like an MDI level and things like that, or they have to off tank a boss because this boss requires 3 tanks.
It won't be that big of a deal.
I think they'll be more than fine having.
That's true.
Either their current Soulbind but using a different pathway, which is what I showed in the video, or having another Soulbind that's like, that's my tanking Soulbind, and I set that one up for tanking when I want to use it. So I think people will be generally okay. And I was quite relieved to see that, because it's more about the effect it has on the wider game that really bothered me about a lot of this stuff. So the emphasis has gone 2 different ways, though, which has been really interesting. Is the emphasis is now back to the actual Covenant spells, which are still in a lot of in dire need of a lot of work in some cases. I hope they relax this class focus and draw it back a little bit, so that we can have some spec stuff. That would be pretty cool, because right now it is a problem. If you just want to enjoy the specs of your character, the abilities don't reflect that very well in a lot of cases.
No, they certainly
and it's not
don't.
a thematic or RPG thing. I mean, the sooner we can dispense with this nonsense that it's an RPG thing, a Death Knight having a single target arcane damage dot is not an RPG element. Like, I think people get very biased by the very thematic and spectacular Covenant abilities that fit the theme of the Covenant and all that kind of stuff. I can buy into that. Like, you see the visual of it and you're like, oh, that's so, like, fitting. There's not a lot of them that are like that, okay? There really aren't. Like, it's such a skewed vision is to look at something like the Nightface Stomp, which puts this magical tree down.
I don't like how Paladins, see, like, McConnell's not here, but I bet he'd agree with me. I don't like how Paladins can do shadow damage. They shouldn't be able to do shadow damage because they're Paladins. Period. It doesn't matter what the exceptions are. They should not be able to use shadow. And I want to know, not Oathbreaker, no. You know what a paladin that uses shadow damage is? It's a fucking Death Knight. A dark paladin? Fuck that. You're not a dark paladin. You're just using one dark spell. Give me a fucking break. It's not a whole aesthetic. It's just one spell that breaks the existing fantasy. Like, if you want to change all the abilities into being shadow spells for a paladin, then maybe I'd agree with you. But you're using all of this same shit. You're doing all of the same abilities, but you have this one ability that's different. Arthas? What a good example of a paladin. Arthas. Very, very true. Wow. Man, I didn't... Holy shit. That's such good, dude. I should have thought of that one, huh? We should have thought of fucking Arthas. Here's what the difference is, okay? Here's what the difference is between Paladin, like using a weapon. Like, so Frostmourne, where's Frostmourne? Let me go get Frostmourne. Okay, so here's pretty much where we're at. So this is Frostmourne here, right? And I am a Death Knight. Now, being able to use a weapon that deals shadow damage is different than being the progenitor and the conduit of the shadow damage itself. So I think personally, from a fantasy perspective, it's okay for a paladin to have a shadow damage weapon. But if the paladin is the conduit in through which the shadow damage and shadow and dark forces are channeled through, and the paladin uses their like magic force to deal shadow damage, that's not a paladin. Okay? That's the point. Using shadow damage items is different than being a conduit and casting the shadow damage spells yourself. I think about this because I'm a loser. And so you guys don't have to. Just listen to me.
And then compare it to like a druid symbiosis, which occasionally does a damage proc. You're really biasing yourself towards your favoritism there.
Yeah.
And the reality is that no, a lot of these Covenant abilities aren't thematic at all.
No.
Some of them are, and the more famous ones that get talked about a lot, they sure are. But there's a lot that are swept under the rug. Not a lot of people are talking about the fact that we know like Dispriest can create these, I think it's Dis or Holy, that can create these massive DPS skews individually. If you want to see that, check the Priest video where I'm on my Death Knight. I think it's the Necrolord actually.
That's a lot.
Where we tripled a Breath of Sindragosa uptime because the Priest was helping out, right? That's still in the game, so that still needs a lot of work because that's going to be a big problem. But the emphasis has shifted back there.
Yeah, it's going to be a little bit weird. What are you guys talking about my pants for? I got my pants on, dude. Look at this. Look at my pants, dude. Look at that, dude. See those pants, dude? Look at that, man. I'm looking good, huh? Yeah, I got these. I'm wearing them around. I like these a lot. I've been wearing these pants a whole week. Yeah. Well, this is this week's pants.
Although I imagine, and certainly for me, a lot of the Covenant emphasis has also now included these weekly events, especially after being able to do the Venthyr Vampire Party one. It's And you look at the other
They
ones and
smell
you think,
good,
wow,
by the
I can
way.
create my own abomination. That sounds awesome. And I would like to do that on a week-by-week basis. I think, I haven't played it, so it might be garbage. Who knows? Or the boss rush for Kyrian, that's more up my alley, right? But
Yeah, I like that
I'm
too.
tied to a lot of other things, and that's got to be weighing on the decision process. And that's also something which I think Blizzard needs to be a little careful of. Those events are not going to be shown while you're leveling up, I don't think, which means that this is something that a lot of players are going to be uneducated about once they get there. So they might.
That's actually a really, really, really good point with what Preach is bringing up right here. Is like, no, I haven't even thought about this. This is a really good point. Is that these special events that you get in the Covenants, like the dinner party with the Venthyr, the boss rush with the Kyrian, the garden with the Night Fae, and the build abomination with the Necro Lords, they need to have a quest while you're going through those Covenants that is like a simulation of what it would be like. And that way players know how to make a decision. Because what Preach is saying here is a very, very good point. Yeah, build a bomb? No, man, not bomb. Build a abomination.
Heard say
A
the
tutorial,
Venthyr teleport is very powerful.
Seems so obvious.
So I'm
doesn't
kind
it?
of pushed towards Venthyr.
No
Even if I don't
bombs.
like the class spell, I think taking Venthyr is a wise choice, right? And then they're going to be presented with that vampire party, and they might go, oh, God, I have to do this every week. Now, some people are going to like the vampire party, but not everybody. I certainly was like, ooh, I don't fancy doing this every week. I can do it,
I do.
sure. And if it means that Venthyr is so much better for my mythic raiding, then fine, I'll put up with it.
I want to go Venthyr.
I'll do the alt thing, which is where I think we should go next in this conversation.
I think anybody that doesn't go Venthyr is a loser. Like, I'm gonna be honest, I think they're all losers, man. Like, yeah, it's the thing is like, the thing is like Night Fae. I mean, that shit's for like girls, you know. They're like, there's a garden and there's like flowers and all this, right? And then you've got like the Kyrian, which is for like the people that fucking go on cancel culture Twitter crusades after people on Twitter. And then you have the Necro Lords, which are for people that smell bad. And then the Venthyr, those are just, they're just cool. I don't smell bad. Anybody that knows me knows I don't smell bad. I don't smell bad.
So right now, I think overall the system is better. It's workable. It won't dramatically kill. It won't be the big skews. In some cases, there's still some outliers. There are definitely some outliers, but my confidence in this comes from what I'm not saying is it's perfect right now, but the path we're on is the right way. As long as Blizzard doesn't stop and go, oh, they're pretty happy now, we've got it right. Not yet, but the path is there. Some stuff does just flat out need removing, and some stuff needs heavily tweaking in order to get it in the right place. But we're on the right path where they're listening and saying, oh, okay, yeah, that's kind of dumb. Let's get rid of that. Let's pull it back. Yeah, we see why that's a big problem. So,
man, I just want this game to come out, man. Like, I'm so fucking sick of playing BFA. Like, I'm just doing the same world quests, man. Like I'm just so sick of playing this same fucking game. Like, I know that we try to make it fun because, like, we collect everything and, like, we play a lot of different shit in the game and it's great. But, like, I just play Classic then? Why? I played that before. I played that when I was growing up. Like, I know what Classic is. Like, I played that too. But I got, like, 3 characters almost level 60. Done that. Like, I want a new game. Like, I want something I can fucking... I want to be able to lay in bed and think about a video game, man. Like, if I can't lay in bed and think about a video game, then it's a problem. Really, dude? Like, I want this game to come out. Like, I know, like, the thing is, I think these are stupid decisions Blizzard's making, but it's still better. It's still going to be better than BFA. Like, let's just get that out of the way right now. It's still going to be better than BFA. There's no way it won't be. Like a Final Fantasy. No, I'm gonna play. I'd play Dark Souls again if that was it. Like I wish, dude, I would invest $10,000. Like if From Software was like fucking, we're gonna make this game. We're gonna make a Dark Souls MMO. I would just give them $10,000. I'd be like, there you go. I believe in this already. You know, like that's, fuck, dude. Like I wish they would do that.
So, I'm feeling much better about the system for everybody else. Besides myself, by the way. I'm not in a good place. Like, personally, this is where we're going to get to the selfish stuff. There were also very cool announcements as well, like that weren't included in anything I could test, such as the Mythic Plus box will always have something good for you. And what they meant by that, and they clarified this on Mr. GM's interview, which was awesome, is that not only will the Mythic Plus box and the PvP box have selection of items, so you can pick one you want, if you're at the point where you just don't need any of those items, so even with a selection, there's still nothing you particularly need, they will give you some sort of resource, like an extra resource on top that you could use. Hopefully that's not just gold, but something actually useful. And another really good twist that I've seen
I like
is the
that.
return
That's a great
of
decision.
being able to do a daily dungeon in order to complete your emissary quest. I love that. Like, that's perfect for me. That's so cool. I hate world quests now. I'm so over at world quests. The concern early on will obviously be if reputation is overwhelmingly good, if they pull another Champions of Azeroth.
I'm okay with world quests as long as they're easy. Like, there should be every world quest with enough gear should be doable in like one fucking pull. Like if you get like, if it tells you kill 20 mobs and there's like giant packs of 20 mobs, you just AoE them all down. Like I would go around, this sounds stupid, right? I would go around and do the Stormheim world quests, get this, for fun. Because I thought they were good. Because I like being able to group everything up and kill it all in one hit. I would do it for fun. AoE cap? Get him out of here.
And it's like, well, this arbitrary reputation just gives you this derpy item level upgrade for some fucking reason.
Get him out of here.
That would be a problem for sure. But as it stands right now, you can either go and do dailies. But I really wonder if they're going to like be regretful of this. I hope not. Because it's like one dungeon or two dungeons even. It might be two dungeons. I've been unable to test that. But it might be one or two dungeons versus doing world quests with no flying. And I've done the world quests
fun.
in the Shadowlands, the capped ones.
That's
no flying,
fun,
going
dude.
back to it again really sucks. It does. It really sucks for content that you're just trying to get out of the way because it feels like mandatory stuff. So
I don't know. I actually like world quests. Like I guess I'm like a loser or something like that. But I like having little world quests that you go out and do. It's like, oh, let's go over here, do this thing, do that thing. Like I don't know. Like I don't hate them. Maybe I'm weird for that, but I don't hate them. I think that they're fun. I like world quests. Yeah, I think so. Like they're enjoyable, relaxing. I just do them. They're easy. It's the same thing every time. And I ride around and it's just chill. The one thing that I wish they had is like, imagine if it was like a horn that you could blow in the middle of the fucking area, and instead of doing one world quest, you have to do every single world quest mob all at the same time. And you have like one attempt at it every single day where you fight every single world boss mob at the same time. And I know that sounds stupid, and that's because it is stupid, but like I'd like to see that. I think that'd be fucking cool. Yeah, like a giant fucking, yeah, it is stupid. Like, I want to see things, I guess, like, here's the point, right? I want to see things in the game where it gives somebody who has, like, really, really good gear the chance to just fucking, like, blow some easy content out of the fucking water. Like, not only are they going to do it faster, but they're going to do, like, 5 of them at the same time.
if we do get to the point relatively quickly, or even from the start, where reputation's not actually that big of a deal,
Yeah.
then that would be cool. I'd be fine with that. I'd be fine with just smashing out the emissary and having some fun with the guys who also want to do theirs and then do alts and stuff and just play. It's encouraging me to play with my friends more. And world quests just haven't hit that mark for a really long time. So I'm really happy to see that return. That's been a really good positive change.
They need to have legendary world quests. I've said this before. There needs to be legendary world quests that spawn once a month. Like, there needs to be, like, a new one that spawns, like, every week, and then there'd be, like, 4 a month. So, like, imagine, like, you guys want to hear about what's a legendary world quest? Li Shen's Treasure Trove. Legendary world quest. Available once a month in Throne of Thunder. The Mage Tower. Available once a month. You can go back and fight the scaled up boss, and if you complete it, you get some item. I want to see legendary world quests. Imagine if you go into, like, let's say like Siege of Borealis. The legendary world quest is you start it and it destroys the cannons against the last boss, and you have to fight the squid with no cannons. That's a legendary world quest. I want to see shit like that happen.
The Covenant Sanctum stuff feels a little whitewashed. It's fine. I mean, it's not exciting. It's pretty cool visually, but I'm not overly excited by it. Like, it's got some cool stuff. Like, the channeling the anima looks visually cool.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I mean,
that
it's just
cool.
that opening more world quests, and we just talked about world quests, right?
Yeah.
So that's what it's doing. But the idea of it is awesome. That we're rebuilding the stocks. It fits with the theme of the game. No complaints. No complaints by it.
Same.
I think
I
it's
like
okay.
that too.
And it's something you can work on. But it does feel, again, not mandatory. It'd be interesting to see after we play a lot more of it how mandatory this stuff is. Because if it's not that mandatory, I'm fine with that as well. It's stuff you can do when you want to do it. What I don't want to... One thing I'm very much hoping doesn't happen is we feel the need, like we did with Battle for Azeroth, where... Well, not even the need, but required for the content we do, to do, like, every world quest every single day. And that was my BFA gameplay, and I'm sure many others will feel the same for literally...
That was a big cock, and I didn't like it. Like, having to do every world quest at the beginning, like, that's what you would do. Is like, I remember in Legion... The first hour of my stream was knocking out every world quest in the Broken Isles. Every single time. And I did not like that.
A month, or if not longer, it was like, right, log in, do every single world quest. Why? We need all these reputations. They unlock things we need. Is it fun? Absolutely not. And it's in fact killing my entire enjoyment of this new, fresh expansion, because I'm having to spend maybe an hour, hour and a half every single day doing this content, because we're on a schedule that coincides with Blizzard's schedule for when we're going to hit the requirements for this stuff. So that's something to bear in mind as well. Again, I understand not many people feel that way and maybe never even got Pathfinder, or didn't get Pathfinder until way later.
Who the fuck wouldn't have Pathfinder?
Know, and this is always the problem that we have when it's
Who the
at high-end
fuck?
stuff, is we know Blizzard is going to be expecting us to do that and design the encounters that we're going to face around you having done it. It's a very vicious cycle.
It's easy.
And it does
you
feel
just
sometimes
get
like Blizzard has doubled down on it by creating yet more hoops for us to jump through. You've got to remember that a lot of the Mythic Raiders that I play with, and a lot of the high-end players, really come from a background of simply being able to log in and raid. There was no hoops. There was gearing, then there was raiding, and then we did alt raiding, and we just enjoyed playing the game, and it was fine.
I'm okay with a couple of hoops for raiding. I am, but they have to be account-wide. The hoops have to be account-wide. If you go through the hoop on your warrior, your mage is already through the hoop. Yeah, I mean, like, I'm okay with a little bit of it, but BFA and, like, the amount of artifact power and shit that you had to farm and everything like that, that was way too much, dude. It was stupid.
That's what we had all the way up until Legion. Mr. Pandaria had a bit of stuff with the Legendary Cape, for sure. But for the most part, like, there was no big outside of the world grind. Like, it was fine. And we often say, like, certainly in Wrath and the Burning Crusade and the Cataclysm, if we say needed an extra Warlock, it was a case of somebody capping it and us using our resources as a guild to gear that guy up so he can be in the raid that week. And that was about it.
Man, dude, I can't wait until Shadowlands whenever I can just do community raids on my alts. Imagine me doing a community raid. Remember those? I haven't done community raids for so long. People probably don't even know what they are anymore. Like, why don't you do them now? because I don't give a fuck about my ult. Like, who cares if I'm 480 item level if I don't have any essences? Who cares if I'm 480 item level if I don't have all my best in slot corruptions? You think I'm gonna waste my time with that dog shit? Fuck no, dude. Fuck no, I ain't gonna do that. Call it what it is, free carries? Well, that's the thing, is I do carry everybody through the raid. I help them do it. I make sure that there's a group that's good enough to do it, and we succeed together. That is true.
There was nothing else special that needed to happen. There wasn't like some extra time gating. And I recently did see a lot of the rage from people like Sea-Doo and stuff, where they're like, why can I not just build my corruption? Or why can't I go hard, get it done, and get this character caught up so it's on par with everybody else? Why is it got to be like 11 weeks behind or whatever? What's the purpose of that? I don't know. I don't know what they're thinking with that.
Money.
I don't get it. If it's just a case of
money.
catching up to where a more permanent player is, or a more permanently played character,
yeah,
I don't understand the need to time gate that stuff. It blows my mind.
That's because there isn't one. It's unnecessary.
Really odd decisions like that always confuse me. But overall, Shadowlands looks much better now for nearly everybody. I think that's fine. Now, I'm going to move to the selfish bit now.
Okay, here we go.
I've got to do that. From a high-end player's point of view, this is still an absolute clusterfuck. But I'm talking about the very high end. It's worse than it's ever been. And that really annoys me. Because, again, I've just come back from this discussing with you, is that most of us, when we got into this stuff, we got into it on the basis that that was what we enjoyed, so that's what we focused on. And anything else was purely optional. Because a raid guild, which is obviously what I'm a part of, a raid guild is designed around the raid. That's what the guild's designed around. And within there, there'll be subsets of people who enjoy different things. Some people will want to go and farm every single mount. That's what we have in our guild. Some people will want to get all optional reputations, right? So if it was the Burning Crusade, it'd be like going and getting Sporagar.
Yep,
nerds. Getting the Netherstorm reputation.
Fucking nerds.
Doing all those things. I don't want to do that. We're all playing together for the raid focus. So there's lots of us who have very, very different extracurricular activities outside of the one that we actually joined up to be a part of together. And that's where the problems lie when Blizzard says, oh, let's put in more hoops for you to jump through that aren't optional, but seriously affect what you're doing. Now, the Soulbinds system is so much better for...
What they could do, you know what would be good? Is if they made the raid... Here's one way to make it better for top-end players. Is you just make the raids easier. Like, that's all you need to do. Just make the raids a little bit easier. And that way people won't feel as compelled to play within a meta. Like, that's one thing that they can do. Now, that wouldn't fix it. But it would make it, oh, no, don't do it. Yeah, sure. I wonder how many people here are saying no killed KJ in Tomb of Sargeras on Mythic whenever it was current. I wonder how many people saying no said that, did that. Yeah, fucking right. Raids are too goddamn complex now. They're way too fucking complex.
Most people so much better, but for the very high end, it's fucking terrible still. And I had a lovely conversation with Slootbag and Nobble after the announcement yesterday, where he's like, well, how much should the game alter to the very, very tiny percent? If they can get it right for like the 90 or 99% of players, how much should they change it for the 1%?
It depends.
And he's right, and that bugs me, because every time, every expansion since Legion, it's gotten worse. It hasn't like kept an even keel. So Azerite Power would be a prime example, right? Azerite Power is a prime example, and we called it the Mythic Tax, and it is called the Mythic Tax. And this expansion is looking to have a hefty Mythic Tax. And the Mythic Tax also includes like the top MDI players, or any group willing to push.
PvPers too.
And it also includes very high PvPers.
There it
that
is.
Tax on
True.
playing at the extreme high end just keeps getting larger and larger, to the point where it's really off-putting, because we just want to play the game. And that's it. But they keep putting more and more hurdles in front of just getting to that point. And it's getting very, very tiresome. And I know...
One thing they can do is just make it to where if you get over those hard-to-get-over hurdles, that you accelerate your progression faster. Like, the problem is that rewards don't scale to the difficulty of the content. Like, you're not getting the same type of fucking rewards. Like, if you do a Mythic plus 23, you don't get a reward that you should get for doing a Mythic plus 23. Like, it's not there. No, just remove them? Like, won't work, Asmon? I think it will. I think it would make a bigger difference than what we're doing now. If you do 23, then why raid? I don't know. But I think, like, raiding needs to be more incentivized. I don't think there's enough reasons to Mythic raid right now. Like, if you were to pay me, like, $100,000 to kill Mythic N'Zoth, like, legitimately, I don't know if I'd do it. Like, I don't know if I'd want to join a raid and progress through it and do all of that stuff. Like, I don't know if I'd want to do it. It's just, it's fucking annoying, man. That's a lie. That probably is a lie. I'd probably do it. But, like, all right, if they could give me... If I could get one removed from the game gladiator mount for killing Mythic N'Zoth legitimately, would I do it? Yeah, I probably would. I probably would do it, yeah. Yeah, I would do it. It's just like, I wish it would just give you better gear. Like, I miss the days whenever people that were Mythic Raiders just had really good gear and they just shit on everybody. I don't know, maybe that's selfish, but, like, I like that. You have some guy with, like, full Mythic Raid gear and he's just fucking better than everybody else because he plays the game all the time. I like that. I don't think that's how it should be. Same with Gladiator gear, too, by the way. Yeah, I don't know. I still do. It's not as much, though. It doesn't feel as good.
That in my circles, like, I'm putting out a positive vibe about a lot of the Shadowlands stuff, but in my personal circles, super poisonous. Super poisonous. Like, it's really is about as poisonous as you can get right now. Definitely a lot of people who are like, I'm really considering just not playing. I would rather go and play Final Fantasy, or why don't we go and make a Final Fantasy guild and just have giggles over there, where...
Okay.
There's none of this, like, real bullshit to deal with. Because, and this is why, because I know some of you will be like, well, do you really need to do it? Often yes, actually. Often yes. And I think if we just look at the last tier, like Mythic N'Zoth at the, you know, at the current level progress. Not when you overgear it. Remember, we're going to be tackling this content at the appropriate gear level, or even slightly under, but just do some.
Yeah, Preacher's in a pretty good guild. Involved.
That required, like, such a really crisp setup to get done. You know what I mean? They ask of us to bring 8 immunity classes, like a minimum. And I know we scraped 5 and 7, but that required a lot to go right in our favor.
God
like,
damn.
A lot of things to go right in our favor in order to pull that off. And that was still, like, it wasn't the top 100, but it wasn't one of the early kills, where it's really down to something being slightly overpowered or something being slightly exceptional at that fight. I can't express to you guys who've never been there how much of a difference it makes. And now that a lot of that is optional and gear is less relevant. So I think this is a good topic to bring up here, is a lot of people who play WoW still believe that item level is kind of king dick. And that's really not the true. Borrowed power is pretty much everything at this point. And we did...
He's right. I mean, like, I'll fucking say that somebody who's 460 is probably not going to do as much DPS as somebody who's 479, because the odds are the guy that's 479 also has all the borrowed power stuff as well, because he probably got it on the way up to 479. But still, I mean, dude, I don't know, man. Yeah, give me 1 second. What's going on? Like, what are you guys doing? Check-in game? What do you think, I'm fucking blind? You think I don't notice that? Jesus, guys.
some testing on this where we took 2 characters at 470, and one of them was optimized at 470. So like the correct corruption choices, the correct essence choices, correct Azerite choices. And then we took another 470 and exact same item level, very similar items. We even bought some of the same stuff at the auction house. And that character can't get away from the stuff it has. So it had decent corruptions, not optimized, but decent. It had decent essences because I was playing the weaker character, and I simply on my alt did not have the choices of everything on it. So I tried to put like slightly worse ones in, but they were still decent for that class, and like slightly wrong Azerite choices, like slightly wrong.
I get
and the
that.
difference is 40%, and I know that's a big thing. That 40%. That's what the number is. Like in
that's
output
a big
of
number.
those characters, there's a 40% differential.
Jesus.
That's due to the borrowed power. That's how strong it is. Now, that's as it is now. Now, to be fair, and I will be fair here before everyone goes memeing me, is that 8.3 is a complete clown fiesta and a circus right now. Okay, we understand.
Yeah. Well, you know, I mean, hey. Shadowlands is going to be completely different. There's no way that's going to be a clown fiesta. Look, I mean, how can we tell Shadowlands is going to be a clown fiesta? Except for the fact that their most recent decisions besides Shadowlands have led to a clown fiesta. It's like, oh wait, no, they're not going to do it wrong. They've only been doing things wrong the whole time. That's what's so insane to me. Is like 8.3 is their most recent patch. They're the 8.3 is the closest thing that we have to Shadowlands. And woo, you know, just do whatever you want to do, man.
But that's the kind of strength we're looking at sometimes. And if you look at the world first races, which is obviously we're in very top end territory here, so I feel comfortable talking about that. We saw crazy things being done because of how broken some of these systems are. We saw, you know, blood DKs as DPSs, just so they could wear 100 plus corruption of Echoing Void, because that was currently busted. And now we're talking about the borrowed powers multiplying on themselves, which they still do, although it's less extensive, but it will add up. Unfortunately, it is still going to add up. Although it won't matter for most people, it's still going to matter. And we do feel that Blizzard does tune bosses. You look at how tight the kills were for N'Zoth, for every guild, especially those doing it in appropriate gear, how tight that is to get done. It's so tight. Requires not only immense player skill throughout all of it, but also requires a really on-point composition of players and classes.
Yes, it
and
does.
In most cases, those guilds are utilizing what are currently considered the most powerful classes and spending hundreds of millions of gold in order to acquire these items, but this borrowed power system, in order to enhance upon that.
Yeah,
and
it's
even
a bit
with
ridiculous.
All that maximization, even with all that maximization, still scraping over the finish line. That's how tight it is. So even if you've never played it, I hope you witness that.
That's the thing, is like these guys take the game, like the fucking, these dungeons and raids and shit are tuned so tightly. It's actually fucking insane. And I don't know, like Classic doesn't have that, but it still does at the same time. Like if you're not playing your class even in the right way in Classic, people don't want to play with you even though the raids are easy. So I don't know, like I don't know what the solution for it is. Like I don't know. It's just, it's so weird. What Covenant are you gonna choose? I'll choose whichever one makes me do the most damage, as long as it's not Night Fae. Like I will not play. I'm not going to play Night Fae. Like I will not play Night Fae. There's like a literal 0% chance that I'll play Night Fae. Like that's it. I want to play Venthyr, and if the difference between like Venthyr and like the next one, like Maldraxxus and Venthyr are kind of close to each other, but I want to go Venthyr. What if Night Fae's Biss? It depends on how Biss it is. I probably still won't go it, man. I don't want to be a fucking a flower picking fairy. Like that's not what I want to go after. I want to be a a vampire or a necro lord. That sounds way cooler.
Watch the world first races. That's the kind of content we're dealing with. And it's designed that way because Blizzard knows it's possible. Blizzard knows it's possible. And so if we end up in the scenario, which it looks like we are barreling headfirst to it, that it's the Covenant abilities plus the slightly... This is how it magnifies on itself. We have a boss that is requiring a lot of our damage. So if there is a class ability that is slightly better than even like 3 or 5%, right? So that's kind of a fair assessment. So your class ability is 3 or 5% better at dealing with that, and one of the Soulbinds within that tree is 3 or 5% better than the other ones, and then the Conduits that you put in are 3 or 5% better than the other choices, then we're going to end up, and then the legendaries that back them up, of course, because we've just seen some extraordinarily powerful.
It just keeps getting better, doesn't it?
Warlocks in particular. Warlocks right now are rubbing your hands together. You want some really early predictions of what's going to be broken AF? Warlocks. Warlocks are...
Wow, Preach. I commend you on your analysis that Warlocks will be OP. What could have possibly indicated that other than the last 15 years? Yeah. What a surprise there. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's like, when are they not how did he... He's broken the code, man. Yeah, Warlocks are fucking ridiculous, man. I don't even know what to say. Okay, no king rules forever. Yeah, Warlocks fucking like too much.
GG right now.
Yeah, they're ridiculous. They're always going to be ridiculous.
That adds up, because that all adds onto each other, right? And then, of course, one thing Sloot was trying to bring up is, like, how do we value the mechanical power of some of these? So everybody, when I talk about percentages,
that's a really good point.
A lot of people like to... say, well, it's 5% more DPS. It depends,
not quite,
because we can't put a value on something like Venthyr Teleport.
Yep.
What we do know is it's a significant increase, especially when multiple people are doing it. So if we look at a fight like Raden, where for the first mythic kills, killing the ads that spawn at that fight before they reach Raden was really tight. Really, really tight. So I'm sure if any of you wants to go back and watch the World First Raiders, or people even from the top 40 guilds we were following there,
they're hard
trying to do Raden, just how tight that DPS check was.
That was a hard boss.
The ability to have the melee instantly appear there, or even run over and just be able to get back to the boss instantaneously and cut down all that travel time and utilize their movement abilities defensively instead of having to save them for this moment and cover those huge gaps is massive. And you can't put a DPS value on that. Like, a percentage doesn't apply to that. It's so big. And then you look at a fight like Il'gynoth, right? And anybody who's seen Il'gynoth's no dispel strategy, where the whole raid is pulsing this damage out, and so it's very important you all stay spread. But sometimes you need to stand on top of each other because of the way the pulses.
That's one way to do it.
Desynced pulses, so the healers have a good amount of time to kind of top you up before the next pulse. The ability to teleport over people that are pulsing incorrectly and land directly without passing through anyone else, skipping all that raid damage that would occur to, say, maybe 3 to 5 players and land exactly where you want to be. You can't put a number on that when it's happening multiple times around the raid.
Utility stuff like that's really hard to define and know, like, what's good with it, because, like, something that just increases your damage by 5% is, like, easy to calculate. But whenever you're talking about some kind of like the Kyrian Spear, for example, where like you can group everything up in spirit and then root it in place, like on a necrotic week or something like that for a tank, that's fucking insane. But for other classes, it's not as good. So like utility is like, it's like a multiplier for how imbalanced an ability can be.
So that's a big deal as well. So all this adds up depending on their raiding counters. And we do have beta testing of the new raid, Castle Nathria, this month. And I'm really going to be interested to see how the raid design is. And you might get a very different video from me where I come back and I'm like, no, fuck this. Like, this is busted. Like, so what we did is we all swapped over to, I don't know, we all swapped over to Night Phase so we could blink through this ability, and therefore the entire mechanic was null and void. Or we all swapped to this Soulbind, which had this ability in it, like 4% flat extra damage, and we just buried the boss into the ground. Because we multiplied that 4% direct damage by 20 people, and that just overwhelmed the boss. So you might get a very different video out of me there. But it doesn't change the fact that, as it stands right now, if you are competitive at WoW, which isn't everybody, If you are competitive at WoW, it still seems unavoidable with this system that we would require multiple characters of the different covenants in order to deal with the encounters. And I think...
I can't imagine that, man. Like, imagine leveling up 4 different characters just to have a different one with each covenant. What a cock ass. Like, I don't even understand how else I could explain it besides that. And you know what the worst part about it is? The other 3 covenants, you don't get to use those abilities. Like, I want to use all the abilities. I want to be able to do, like, the spear. I want to be able to teleport around. I'm going to do whatever I want, man. Yeah, like, fuck, man. For PvPers, it's 8 characters because of racials? Yeah, holy shit.
Thinking it's some sort of EP and flex is incorrect. Just to deal with some of the encounters we're likely to face unless we ruffle stomp through the raid, in which case we're all going to be disappointed anyway.
Yeah.
So that's something we need to consider at the very high end, is it's still absolutely awful. And I would like to put this plea out to Blizzard, honestly.
All right.
Why are you making us jump through all these hoops? I still don't understand.
Yeah.
I don't know whose decision
it
was that there should be this exterior power grind that's... And now you've twisted it into something new. Like, at least with Azerite power, and God knows I hated Azerite power and farming those goddamn islands, while simultaneously the casual player base is saying, well, I don't need to, because nothing the game gives me needs that neck level.
You know what the saddest thing about the necklace level was? Is whenever I was like off stream, whenever I took a break from streaming, I did a lot of islands, and I had a higher necklace level than everybody in my raid except for like 4 people. Like, I was one of the first people in the guild to hit 50, besides like Dragon and a few other people. Like, nobody in my guild even tried to hit 50 besides me. I don't know what the fuck to say about that.
Whereas at the mythic end, we're like, we have to do this or our armor doesn't work, right? And now we're getting to the point where it requires multiple characters. I really have to question the sanity of this stuff.
Yeah.
I am totally into the Covenants, like, so much. They're so fun. And I don't get why this attachment of power to it. I don't get it. I don't know who thought it was a good idea. I don't understand why they're not entirely world-based. If you're going to do it, why not make it entirely world-based? I mean, it made sense to me that the Soulbinds would be out in the open world with you, but they're not. They're a mission table follower, and other than that, they don't exist.
Yeah, it's kind of weird.
As far as I can see right now. I mean, maybe that'll change, but right now it doesn't exist. So why not make those talent trees, those whole big talent trees, just open world benefits? Quicker use of reach your latest. If we look at Revendreth, that gets the mirror system.
I don't want to see. I don't want that. Like, I don't want them to be open world talents. I feel like if they're open world abilities, just throw them into fucking garbage. Hot Flashes, thanks for tier 3 sub, man. Just put them in the garbage, because that's what they did with the garrison abilities in WoD. Who remembers which garrison ability you picked in Talador? Who gives a fuck? What about Spires of Arak? Who cares? Nobody cared about that shit at all. Cannon? Yeah, I picked the cannon too. It was the artillery blast, because it was like 1 minute and you kill elites with it. But like, most people don't remember that. The point is that, like, who gives a fuck? It's like exclusive to one zone, and then that's it. And I don't know, man. Like, I think they need to do something different than just making them like an ability for like one zone. Because if they did that, I feel like you might as well just throw them away. They're just throwaway abilities that have no impact, because there's no challenging world content.
Access the mirror system much quicker in a target location. You know, like, it teleports you to the nearest mirror so you can move around quicker. Gives you slightly better rep rewards for all I care. I don't care. Well, I don't do it that way so it doesn't skew into everything else. And as for the abilities, I still stand by what I said. What I'd rather have? I would rather have the conduits inside these craftable legendaries.
Ooh.
So I can build the legendary around what I'm going to use the conduit for.
Ooh, like gems?
That would be so much better in my eyes. And the abilities, I still think the abilities should be artistically redesigned, just graphically redesigned, so we have the choices of them.
Oh, that'd be nice.
And make the Soulbinds, if they're thematic and they're going to tell a story and a campaign, because I know right now I'm fighting for the 1%, but I can't express to you enough, guys, like how much this fucks over these people. Like, it really fucks them over. And I still don't see the point in it. Having slightly more movement speed after using an ability is great open world. We don't need it in this environment. I'd rather not deal with it at all. In the fact, this expansion is looking like there's so much cool shit to do with alts. Like, so much cool shit. That I'd just rather be able to level my alts and go fuck about with abominations and things like that.
It's one of the good things. You know, Method already imploded, so they're not going to have to worry about leveling up all these alts in the shit system. That's what you call a silver lining right there, isn't it?
I'm fine with that. I'm fine with that. I just don't understand. And I'm still lost with it. I know it won't affect so many of you, but I stand here and I say, I still don't think it makes their game better. I don't
No, it
believe
does not.
that. I have to say, down to my heart of hearts, I don't see how it makes them better. Because no matter how many people throw the word meaningful choice down my fucking throat, as I said, most of these abilities are not a meaningful choice. If you're, like I said, if your DK's arcane single target dot feels like a big meaningful choice, I will. If someone brings that person to me, I will show you a liar. No question. No question. I will show you a liar. Like,
yeah.
Get out of here with that nonsense. Random power procs, nonsense. Just because my Paladin's hammer has a green glow around it and not a blue one, or a red one, or a different kind of blue one, does not make me feel like a Necrolord, right? Throwing a Vanquisher's hammer with a Paladin does not make me feel like somebody who's representing the undead. It doesn't. It's a lie. It's an absolute lie. But there you go. That's my little ranty rant on where I feel right now. Looking forward to how the Shadowlands is going to develop. I still think this is the wrong choice to make because I am not a fan of anything that screws over people's gameplay. And that's my final comment on it. I'm totally against, and yes, it does affect me, that my bias is clearly there. But I don't understand why anyone would want to put something in this game and celebrate something that really, really fucks over some of the players' gameplay.
Okay.
I don't. All right. Bye-bye.
Yeah, it's like, I don't think Blizzard should go out of their way to try to, like, appeal to people that are that disconnected from the game. Because if you're that disconnected from the game, it feels like you probably don't know anything about it to begin with. So making these changes that are built around trying to make those people happy, those people don't even know anything about the game to begin with. So how can you make a change to make them happy in that way? Just doesn't make any sense. It's like they're trying to go out of their way to make people happy. They're already fucking happy because they're playing the game. It's weird.